let's go straight into the first fight, which is a rerun of Figueiredo v Benavidez. How do you say his name?
Benavidez.
Benavidez, that's it. Yeah. I personally think that Figueiredo's probably going to win again. I think he's a better striker overall. He's also a BJJ champion. I believe he won a BJJ title in Brazil at 57 kilos. I just think he's better everywhere. The one thing I'll say about Figueiredo is he tends to miss weight now and then, which is why he didn't win the vacant flyweight title the last time they fought. I think he came in at 128, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Do you think that's an advantage, though? Do you think it's actually an advantage weighing in heavier? Or does that mean he's having a really difficult weight cut and he's going to be drained?
I think it may be an advantage at that weight. At that weight, 3 pounds is a lot more.
It is, yeah. But if it there's another kind of school of thought. If you're not making weight, it means that you've had like a really difficult cut, like you're really struggling, and you literally can't do anymore because you're killing yourself to get the weight off. So maybe that's a disadvantage.
And a good example of that would be Abdul Rasak Hassan, who was on the card yesterday. He missed weight by 3 pounds initially, and then he had to go and lose that, and he ended up losing to a newcomer, Munel Aziz. So yeah, I mean, you can think of it both ways, but I think Figueiredo will win this again. I think he's just better all around. His manager, Walid Ismail, is also a multiple BJJ world champion. Plus, he was one of the first fighters on the UFC roster. So I just think he's got a better team around him. And I think he KO'd Benavidez before. I think he'll probably KO him again. He seemed very confident as well.
Yeah.
When he stepped off the bus, got into the hotel, the W Hotel in Abu Dhabi, they asked him, what do you think? What's your prediction? He just said, I'm going to KO him again. So I think he'll win. Probably by finish.
I'm inclined to agree with you. And after the first fight, he should be confident. I mean, what I like about Deiveson Figueiredo is he is super fast. Like his strike, like his reflexes are just phenomenal. Like his opponent will go to punch, and even if just as like turn their shoulder, he's already landed a counter punch on you. He is super fast, and he hits pretty hard as well. And if I recall correctly, Benavidez tried to get him to the ground, and Deiveson stuffed the takedowns. And Benavidez being the slightly shorter guy with the shorter reach, I think he had difficulty closing the gap, and he was kind of having to like lunge forward with these big lunging hooks, which just left him exposed. And Figueiredo was just popping him, and he just completely outclassed Benavidez on the feet. So, I mean, Benavidez is also 35. He's had a lot of fights at this point. Like, he's very good, don't get me wrong, but I think he's maybe reaching perhaps the end of his career. And just generally, as you said, I think Figueiredo is just significantly better everywhere. Figueiredo is really, really, really good.
Very good. So,
I kind of see this as a rerun of the first fights, probably with Figueiredo, KO, TKO, probably first round, second round. Yeah,
I think, maybe second or third, but definitely finish within the 5 rounds. I mean, I'm inclined to believe that it's for the belt, right? Because the belt's still vacant. He didn't win it last time because he missed weight. Yeah. It would be for the belt. So we could have a new bantamweight, flyweight champion. So I'm going Figueiredo finish, and you're going for the same thing.
I'm going to say finish probably round 2. I think Deiveson Figueiredo will probably soften him up in round 1. And then in round 2, just finish him off.
Interestingly, Figueiredo's also got a capoeira background. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know how much difference that makes. But
I completely useless. It's like Tai Chi. Right, it's like, but next bet in Tai Chi, what are you going to do?
My dojo life, mate. Tai Chi. Use the energy. Use the force.
I mean, it's only marginally worse than Aikido. I mean, it's.
Hey, mate, don't go there about Aikido. We might have Steven Seagal fans out there.
Yeah.
But
Mustn't disrespect the Aikido.
I don't know. I mean, you need to use quite a lot of. I don't know. You need to be quite flexible and stuff for the kicks. Maybe there is some kind of advantage there, but I think the main thing in his arsenal is he's a BJJ Brazilian champ, which is saying a lot. You're a BJJ champ in Brazil. That means you are serious.
You're a beast.
Serious.
You're an absolute beast.
Let's move on to the next fight. This is a very interesting one. Jack Hermannson against Kelvin Gastelum, who came out in all Arab gear for the press conference earlier on.
Who, Gastelum?
Yeah, Gastelum.
Did he look amazing?
He looked amazing. Apparently, the Prince of Abu Dhabi gifted him it.
Okay, you can't wear it then, can
you? You can't. Yeah, get chucked out the country, tortured first. I didn't say that.
This is a really interesting one. I've been going backwards and forwards on this. I think this is impossible to pick with any kind of confidence.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on this.
Me neither. Unless like the odds are skewed. I haven't checked the odds for this one. But if the odds there's a big difference, I might bet on this. But just the matchup is so interesting because you've got Gastelum. We know he's got power. He'll come forward. He hits hard. But Jack Hermannson, he's also got quite good boxing. He's got a nice jab. He's got some takedowns. He's got a decent ground game. Just quite good everywhere. And I feel as though obviously Gastelum has to get the knockout to win. I think because if he doesn't, then I feel like Hermannson will just beat him with volume. There's always a possibility that Hermannson can get Gastelum to the ground because if Gastelum doesn't have the best takedown defense or ground game. He got absolutely mauled by Weidman.
It was a long time ago, though. He's a BJJ black belt now.
That was 2018? Then that wasn't that long ago, was it? Or 17? Okay. Gastelum's okay.
He's got his black belt since, which I think he has improved on the ground. But, I mean, overall, Hermansson's from a wrestling background. He's been wrestling since he was 9. So, yeah, you're probably right. He probably has a grappling advantage. Yeah, he could probably get him down.
Yeah. So I can see Hermannson getting him to the ground. I can see Hermannson keeping him there. I can also see Gastelum knocking Hermannson out.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like anything could happen. And I also feel like Hermannson could just jab and kick Gastelum for 3 rounds and win by decision.
Yeah.
So
this is a really tough one. And I mean, Gastelum's got that Mexican chin. He doesn't get knocked out. I mean, Adesanya hit him with devastating shots and he made it through the fight. And let's be honest, he's not really that weight. He should be a weight below. He's 5'9".
He's a welterweight, yeah.
He's a welterweight, yeah. Welterweight taking an actual middleweight's punches is quite remarkable.
It is. Actually, on the topic of knockouts, Hermannsson's been knocked out twice. So that chin has been cracked.
Yeah, by heavy hitters, very heavy hitters, but still.
Yeah.
Gastelum's a very heavy hitter as well. Who was it? It's Jared Cannonier and the Brazilian guy, the really good Brazilian guy, right?
I can't remember who it was.
I think it was that Brazilian guy that went from middleweight to light heavyweight. But I know Cannonier.
Santos, Thiago Santos.
Yeah.
Knocked him the fuck out. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jared Cannonier. Cannonier fucking knocked him out hard.
Cannonier's a beast.
Cannonier's a beast, though, yeah. But I mean, Gastelum's got that kind of power as well. I mean, you know, one left over the top. I think with Till, he just had a hard time finding his range.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Hermannson may apply that technique. Just stay on the outside, jab him, all that crap. But
I'll say Till's a better striker than Hermannson. Till's more aggressive. He comes forward. I think he hits harder. Hermannsson's striking is okay. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
He throws volume. Yeah. But if I had to pick with like those knockouts by Thiago Santos and Jared Cannonier to kind of fresh in my mind, I'm gonna pick a KO for Gastelum. Probably.
Yeah.
but could be any round. But I'll say round 2. Also, Hermannson does seem to get a little bit tired. Like round 3, he does seem to sort of fade off a little bit, which of course leaves you exposed a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to say Gastelum knockout round 2.
Yeah, I'll probably go for something similar. I'd say a Gastelum knockout, maybe round 3, probably. But it's a tough one. It's one that I've been thinking about, and let's stick to that. Which brings us to the third fight. So it's a Brit, Marc Diakiese against Rafael Fiziev. Interesting matchup. Marc's a lot more experienced in the UFC. I think he's coming off 2 wins. Fiziev's coming off 1. However, Marc did go through a period where he lost 3 in a row. Marc's very explosive, good striking. And yeah, I mean, in terms of BJJ as a purple belt, which may be a bit of a problem, but I'm not too sure about Fiziev's ground game. The one thing I do know about Fiziev is he's a very, very good Muay Thai fighter, which can be, and also it can be detrimental as well, but can be an advantage. He's had 200 amateur Muay Thai fights. He's had 32 pro Muay Thai fights. He was a Kazakhstan Muay Thai champion, Kyrgyzstan Muay Thai champion. And, you know, he's had 7 or 8 MMA fights as well. So his stand-up is very, very, very good. He's very aggressive as well. And I think in his first UFC fight, he just got caught by some random Dagestani guy with a spinning kick, and he got knocked out. I think that was
a little bit unfortunate.
I think that spinning kick would have knocked anyone out. It was just out of nowhere. I think in his second fight, he dominated the guy, and he showed his striking skill. But in terms of picking a winner, I'm really not sure. I'm kind of leaning towards Fiziev because I think Fiziev's got the overall better capability in the stand-up department, and he's more aggressive.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there. The reason I say that is because Marc Diakiese faced the Afghan Gastelum, Nakparast.
Yeah.
And Nakparast and Fiziev are very similar. They're strikers. They both come forward. They both, cut you off, cut the cage off. And they're just going to just come forward and blitz you. Marc Diakiese really struggled with that. Marc Diakiese does very well if he has space. But if he's crowded, he just kind of falls to pieces. He doesn't know what to do. He's not good going backwards. Nakparast gave him a whole load of problems, and I see Fiziev doing the same thing.
And Nakparast has got no... Nakparast is someone who was studying mechanical engineering at university who went into MMA. He's got no Muay Thai background.
Oh, really?
Fiziev, he was studying mechanical engineering and he dropped out. Yeah. So
good degree, mechanical engineering for all the kids out there.
He's a very intelligent guy. But I mean, Fiziev with 200 amateur fights, 35 pro Muay Thai fights. I just think he's a better striker than Nakparast. He's more aggressive than Nakparast, I think. I think if he applies that to Diakiese, I think he could give him a lot of problems. He's a very good guy.
Yeah, he is very aggressive. He does get caught sometimes. He does get hit.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I mean, but that kick would have knocked anyone out. That was a really, really hard spinning kick. A spinning kick. If you land the spinning kick, not many people can take that. And in his second fight, he got clipped a few times. His chin's pretty good.
I don't think Diakiese hits hard enough to knock him out. I know Diakiese's got some finishes by TKO.
Yeah.
It's not like he's got hands of stone or anything.
No, Hooker beat him up quite badly as well.
Yeah, he did. Also, Hooker got him to the ground, and Diakiese didn't seem to have anything to defend. So it looks like Diakiese doesn't really have a ground game. And I think Fiziev, he's apparently has some sambo. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen any video footage of him on the ground.
So he probably does,
Yeah. But I don't think the ground game is going to come into it. I think he's going to stay on the feet. And if it stays on the feet, then I think Fiziev is going to win, possibly in quite brutal fashion.
Yeah, he's aggressive. I'm gonna go with Fiziev via TKO or KO, probably round 2, I'd say.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say KO or TKO round 3.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to the next one then, and that's Pantoja. Am I pronouncing that correctly? You're better with the South American Portuguese names.
I'm not actually sure. Pantoja or something.
Against someone from Dagestan called Askarov.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I see here is this Pantoja guy, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is just a lot more experienced. He's had a lot more fights in the UFC, mix of KOs and submissions. His nickname is the Cannibal. Askarov just does not have the experience. But, I mean, Askarov being Russian, I think he probably has a Sambo Judo background. I mean, I'm certain he has a Sambo Judo background.
Yeah.
They all study it at some point in their lives. But I just I don't see him beating this guy. This guy's number 4 ranked and he's number 13. He just doesn't have the experience, I don't think. I don't see how he can win this.
Yeah, just there's an interesting benchmark here to judge them. They've both fought. Who have they both fought? Brandon Moreno, who is now ranked number 3. Now, Askarov has only had 2 fights in the UFC. He's won 1 and he drew 1 against Brandon Moreno. And Askarov got battered by Moreno on the feet, and Pantoja battered Moreno on the feet. So by that calculation, Pantoja should batter Askarov on the feet, if that makes sense. There's some MMA math there for you. So it looks like Pantoja is the better striker. Pantoja is also jiu-jitsu black belt, very, very high level. Askarov does have some wrestling, but it doesn't seem to be great. I know when he was in the ACB promotion, like he got a twister submission, which kind of indicates that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
That he does have some pedigree in wrestling, but from what I've seen of him in the UFC, it's not amazing. So I think on the ground, if it gets there, I think Pantoja has the advantage.
Could possibly choke him out.
Yeah. And I think also on the feet, Pantoja has the advantage. Because Pantoja really beat the fuck out of Brandon Moreno. And Brandon Moreno... Sorry?
Pantoja's a good fighter.
Oh, he's very good. He's very good,
Yeah.
So the fact that Pantoja beat the fuck out of Brandon Moreno on the feet says a lot. Because Brandon Moreno is a very good boxer. So I've got to give it to Pantoja here.
Yeah, same here. I think he'll probably finish him within the 3 rounds. I'll go with round 2, some kind of finish. I mean, he's got a mixture of KOs and submissions, so he could come any way. I don't. Probably more likely a KO, because Askarov's got a better ground game than he does striking. So I'm going to go with a KO.
Yeah, I'm going to go TKO. Yeah, round 2. Yeah, same as you, I think.
Okay, and that leads us to the next fight we're covering, and this is an interesting one. This is Davi Ramos, who's a world-renowned BJJ fighter, against Arman Tsarukyan, who I'm a big fan of.
Get the tissues out,
Tissues out, yeah. I'll quickly give you my take on this. And similar to the previous fight that we spoke about, they've both got one opponent in common that they fought, and that was Islam Makhachev. And Arman did a lot better against him than Davi did. But just to break things down, Davi is a 3rd degree BJJ black belt. I don't even know what the fuck that means. That just basically means he's really good. He's won bronzes and silvers and golds in multiple championships. He won a silver at a world championship. He won a gold at ADCC. He's amazing BJJ guy. His striking is okay, but he doesn't throw volume. He tends to hold back quite a lot, which is what I found against Islam.
Yeah.
Islam was teeing off on him. He was coming back with one kick or one strike. And then Islam managed to get him to the ground and then ground and pounded him. Won that fight quite comfortably. I think Tsarukyan overall is a better striker than him. Tsarukyan was also a freestyle wrestler. And he did pretty well against Islam. I mean, Islam won the fight, but I mean, some of the wrestling exchanges between them, that fight won fight of the night, by the way, on that card.
That was a great
Some
fight.
of the wrestling exchanges were really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting how he countered some of Islam's grappling and wrestling. So I think, given both of their CVs, I think, I'm not sure how many fights Davi's had in the UFC, but I think Arman's on a 1-fight win streak now. Before that was Islam.
Yeah.
And I think Islam was his debut, which is a tough debut. That's really tough to have as a debut. Because I think Islam can beat a lot of the guys in the top 10, in my opinion, on his night if he shows up. I think he could give a few guys in the top 10 serious problems. And I think he's ranked number 15. I think, given both of their CVs, I think Tsarukyan will probably win this with a decision, probably a unanimous decision. I think because of both of their ground games, I think they'll both be more inclined to stand up. And if they
that's the thing. That's the thing, because in the Ramos Makhachev fight, they're very hesitant to get on the ground because they had respect for each other's skill sets. But when Tsarukyan fought Makhachev, he just went for it, constantly shooting on him, constantly trying to get him on the ground. So if if Tsarukyan is willing to do that against Makhachev, he's probably going to be willing to do it against Ramos. So, I think given that Makhachev got Ramos on the ground in that third round and basically held him there for 4.5 minutes, and Ramos, and Ramos, even though he's, an elite jiu-jitsu guy, he couldn't get him off him. He couldn't even create any space whatsoever. I know he was trapped against the cage, which makes it more difficult, but he couldn't do anything for 4.5 minutes. And you'd think that somebody with his jiu-jitsu pedigree could or should. And I just feel like on the ground, Tsarukyan is going to do pretty well against Ramos. And if he gets him to the ground, I think he can do what Makhachev did, get some control time on top of him, maybe get in some shots, potentially even finish via ground and pound.
Yeah.
So
he's got some KOs, not in the UFC. He fought in the ACB before. The ACB, for people who don't know, is basically like, I don't know, the Cage Warriors of Russia. Mm-hmm. So it's decent. There's some decent guys in the ACB. He got a few KOs, a few submissions. But yeah, I mean, this goes back to the debate to, what's the best foundation to have in MMA? And most people are coming to agree now that it's wrestling, some form of wrestling. And if you can get a wrestler and teach them submission grappling and then striking, then you've got a very, very dangerous person. And I think that's Tsarukyan. I think he's a freestyle wrestler. He's learned submission grappling, which is Sambo mixes in with that anyway. And then he's worked on his striking, and you've got this kind of beast that's turning out, same as Islam Makhachev. Whereas I think Davi Ramos is just a really, really good BJJ guy. And I think a wrestler who knows submission grappling is very unlikely to get caught by Davi Ramos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
unless
the wrestling
they make
standards.
A really stupid mistake, like falling to the guillotine or something, which I don't think Tsarukyan will do.
No. Yeah. And just the wrestling standard of Tsarukyan is so high. I mean, that fight against Makhachev was an exhibition of the highest level grappling that we'll probably ever see in MMA. It was ridiculously high.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the striking, neither of them are very good. I mean, Davi Ramos has power. I remember he wobbled Makhachev with a jab. That was more.
Oh, yeah.
But that was more brute force than any technique. His striking kind of sucks. And I think Tsarukyan's striking is not great. but probably a little bit better. Like
Yeah, it's a little better.
You know.
Yeah, he's got a few more KOs on his CV as well. It's a little better. He's more aggressive, which makes a difference. I think Davi tends to throw. He doesn't throw very high volume. He's not aggressive enough with his striking.
Yeah.
Tsarukyan's a bit more aggressive, which could be the difference. But yeah, I think overall, I think Tsarukyan will win this, probably via decision. I'd say.
I agree.
I think 3 rounds out.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see Tsarukyan getting on top of him for much of the fight, just wearing on him, and just grinding out the decision, a dominant decision. Yeah. So Tsarukyan via decision.
Yeah, so you can via decision. So just to go through everything again, we've got Figueiredo via knockout. We've got Gastelum, we think, via knockout, but that's a hard
tough one to call. Yeah.
Fiziev probably via TKO or KO. And we'll point out there's not much difference between TKO or KO. I mean, someone's KO'd, if someone's getting TKO'd, they're on the verge of getting KO'd anyway. It's just a ref stoppage for people who don't know. And then we've got Pantoja, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pantoja probably by finish, and then Tsarukyan via decision. So those are the fights we're covering for Saturday night. Just a quick shout out to the British guys on the cards. Narimani, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Ami Albazi, who I believe is Swedish Iraqi, but he fights out of London Shoot Fighters, and Brett Johns, who I think is Welsh. Quite a few Welsh guys on these
tough
fights.
People, man.
The Welsh,
tough boys from the valleys, these
boys,
fights,
Not much to do in the valleys, apparently.
Just just to drink and fight,
Just drink and fight. It's something to do with sheep, but we don't want to go into that. No, that's just a joke. But good luck to those guys, and stay tuned for the podcast for the final Yas Island card, which will have an amazing fight on it. The headliner is Till and Whittaker. We're very interested in seeing how that one plans out.
Just very quickly, who are you leaning towards for that one?
I am thinking about this daily. I've got the tissues out and I'm thinking about it daily. Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, this pains me to say this, but I want Till to win. I know people are probably thinking, why is he so upset about that? It's because he's a Liverpool supporter and I support Man United. But I'm going to put that aside for this, and I want Till to win officially. I think he can win. I don't think Whittaker is the Whittaker that we had 2-3 years ago. I think his mindset's changed.
Yeah. I was going to say that as well. Yeah. He had some burnouts, by his own admission. He was burnt out with his sports. I think that there's a trend. Like when champions lose the belt, they don't often tend to get it back. You know, because it kind of represents their peak, and they stop evolving, and maybe the heart's not quite in it as it once was. I think Till still, he's still on his journey to his peak. I think he's still learning. He's still young, and I think he's still hungry. So I'm erring towards Till.
Yeah, I think Till might do it as well. I think Till could KO him.
I think it could, yeah.
Yeah, I think Till's a less good version of Adesanya in some ways, in that he doesn't have the Muay Thai and kickboxing background that Adesanya had, but Till has. He's got a similar style to him in some respects. I think Adesanya's a bit more explosive and has got more kickboxing fights under his belt. But I think Till's quite similar to him. I'd be interested to see them fight.
Yeah, I like Till. He's big. Even now he's gone up, he's still a big boy. He is very explosive. He comes forward in a straight line. He's like a freight train. Like how he got Masvidal, just charges forward. I like him. I think he's slightly underrated. I think if he fixes a few things, he could go on to do big things.
Yeah, it was the loss to Woodley, and then obviously Masvidal knocked him out brutally, and then after that, he had a very boring fight against Gastelum, and I think people have kind of forgotten about him. He's a very good fighter. He's a very good fighter. I mean, he beat Wonderboy on points over 5 rounds. That's not easy to do. So
Yeah, and that requires like a smart game plan. It requires
very
intelligence.
smart.
It requires a
Exactly.
discipline to stick to the game plan.
Yeah.
It's boring, but it works.
That was a boring fight as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, look at Usman the other day. That was boring, but you have to get over the line, you know?
Yeah. That's how champions stay champion. They figure out the easiest, least risky way to win, which is exactly what John Jones has done 10 times. That's how he wins his fights. That's what Usman's doing. It's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You can't be taking risks.
No, you can't. You can't. No, you have to figure a way of doing that. And if that's toe stomps, then toe stomp all you want, Usman.
Yeah. You boring bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it from us, guys. Join us next time for the 4th podcast. And we're looking forward to reviewing the next fights. Tune in this Saturday, and then you can analyze everything yourselves too. And shout out to us if you have any questions. Take care, everyone.